Carol was constantly emailing. She said that she and Takashi are shaken and they felt very bad not to be able to rush to Surabaya for the services for Ben. So she wrote this message for this memorial. This hasn't been published, so maybe I have to read the entire message. This is as many. I mean, it looks long because I had to print it in big font for my distance classes. Anyway, the Sunday that I heard the news of Ben's passing, I was with 500 other people at the inaugural Southeast Asian Studies in Asia, (C-Asia) conference in Kyoto. The conference had brought together young and senior scholars from all 10 ASEAN countries, plus Timor-Leste, and 15 other countries in the Asia-Pacific region and Europe. Among the participants were a number of friends and colleagues who had also been fellow Cornell alumni, such as Giorgio Abinales, June Aguilar, Ray Ileto, Doming Kawet, Tessa Tadem, Jeff Hadler, Kaja McGowan, Mike Montesano, Tyrell Habercorn, Tony Milner, and Tong Chi Kyong. Also present were Ben's good friends like Bomen Guillermo, Jafar Suryumengolo, and Loka Seng. The C-Asia conference, as Jeff Hadler later reminded me in his email, became an impromptu wake, a place where we grieved individually and together, comforted each other, and celebrated Ben's life. That final day of the conference brought together a small number of people whose lives have been touched in one way or another by Ben. We are mere nodes in a large network that now span continents, as Ben's students have found jobs in, and in some cases headed, institutions of area studies and discipline-based fields. That network also includes Ben's loved ones, colleagues, friends, and acquaintances from all walks of life, and parts of that network will come together in the memorials in Surabaya, in Bangkok, in Manila, in Ithaca, London, and other places that trace the wide arc of Ben's journeys across time and space. The Ben network we are part of is also an imagined community because it includes students, scholars, teachers, activists, and workers in Asia, America, Europe, and other places, a number of whom may not have ever met Ben or each other, but had either been trained by Ben students or in far larger numbers, had read Ben's writings on Indonesia, Thailand, the Philippines, Southeast Asia, and other regions. Ben's imagined communities is the most widely cited social science and humanities academic work in the English language, with 61,991 citations in Google Scholar, far more than Edward Said's Orientalism, Max Weber's The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism, the complex psychological works of Sigmund Freud, Jacques Derrida's Of Grammatology, Michel Foucault's Discipline and Punish, and Karl Marx's Das Kapital, though we know, of course, that Marx's influence extended well beyond academia. There will be time enough to celebrate Ben the scholar in the years to come. I want instead to remember Ben the teacher and friend. He was the teacher I hoped to be. The classes he taught were not conducive to note-taking, let alone rote memorization and regurgitation. Ben was more interested in teaching his kids, as he called us, how to think, how to look at the world differently. Ben was unfailingly generous with his time and attention. No matter how busy he was, and he was always very busy, he always found time to read and give detailed comments on all the papers and manuscripts that his students and colleagues and friends asked him to look at. The comments he sent could be quite tough, but they were very helpful in pushing one to correct an error, think through an issue, argue a point, re-examine sources, and question the language and translation, as well as the framework and assumptions. When I was working on the Chinese question, Ben sent me 23 pages of single-spaced comments. It was Ben, too, who patiently translated Rizal's letters in German for me, who urged me to double-check the original texts and undertake my own translation of Rizal from the Spanish, and who asked the trademark unsettling questions, the most memorable of which for me was, where does the laughter of the Noli come from? That made me rethink the Rizal that I thought I knew so well. Ben's integrity made him leery of careerism and contemptuous of the American academic star system. He stayed in Cornell his entire academic life and refused to move to better-paying jobs in other Ivy League universities. He never demanded business class tickets as a condition of his attending a conference, nor negotiated for a higher honorarium. In fact, he often lectured pro bono and did not ask for royalties for his books that were published and translated in Southeast Asia because he wanted to give something back to the countries and peoples he loved. He was happy to accept invitations to lecture from young scholars and activists and found special joy in talking to and learning from them. It was Ben who backed my decision to write for a Filipino audience and publish in the Philippines instead of the US. It was Ben who encouraged me to think about the wider historical framing for my literary studies and to study Bahasa Indonesia so that in understanding our Southeast Asian neighbors, we Filipinos may better understand ourselves. Ben's American home was in the village of Freeville in New York, population 520. I cannot think of a more apt symbol for the freeing of minds that regularly happened under his watch. I want to tell you about my friend Ben, but this is the hardest part for me because the more I remember his myriad acts of kindness and generosity, his bear hugs and deep, soft, rumbling voice, his piercing wit, his chatty emails, always ending with loves be and hugs be, with many as he could put in, his presence in Kyoto, Manila, Bangkok, and New York, the places I have been fortunate to encounter him in, the harder it is for me to put into writing all that he has meant to me. As I would imagine it would be hard for all of you who are now gathered in this room. I would rather, in lieu of speaking how much Ben meant to me, ask all of you in this room who admired and loved Ben deeply to remember him now. She has a portion which is in Filipino because she wanted it to be read to Henry, who we thought could be here. Henry is Ben's longtime friend from here. No? He's the one who lives in Gapan. And maybe that's why he knew about the chop-chop cars. Do you want it read? Okay. Gusto kong ipahayag ang lubos kong pasasalamat kay Henry Naboa dahil sa kanyang pag-aalaga kay Ben at dahil binigyan niya si Ben ng labis na kaligayahan. Nang binasa ko ulit ang mga emails na natanggap ko mula kay Ben, may nahanap akong email tungkol sa pagbisita nila Henry, Benjo, at Bulldog sa Thailand. That's a nickname of one of the sons of Henry. Noong taong 2009. Madalas na ikwento ni Ben si Henry at si Charity. At ang anak nilang si Badik, Aklan, Benjo, Alphon, and Chelly. I don't know if he was named after Chelly. Kwento ni Ben, lumipot daw ang mag-ama sa ilang templo at napag-usapan daw nila ang reincarnation. Aliw na aliw si Ben sa mga bata at kay Henry sa tanong niyang kung makakabalik ka sa lupa sa ibang katawan bilang ano mo nais ma-reincarnate. Nalungkot si Ben nung tanghaling ika-20 ng ika-20 ng Abril nang umuwi na sina Henry sa Pilipinas dahil miss na niya sila. Itong malambing na Ben na gusto ko sanang tandaan natin ngayon. Isipin na lang natin na naging maligaya siya sa piling ng kanyang mga estudyante, kaibigan at minamahal. Naging labis na makabuluhan ang buhay niya at nasa puso at alaala siya ng marami niyang mga anak na matatagpuan sa Pilipinas, sa Indonesia, Thailand, Amerika, Europa at sa iba't ibang pangsulok ng mundo.